everyone. Welcome to the Charlotte Mason Show. I'm Julie Ross, and I'm here today with
her daughter.
If you can't tell, we're related.
We are. Rachel. That's my name.
Yes. So Rachel and I are broadcasting today from Ambleside, England, which has been so exciting. We were supposed to come for her senior trip last year, but then because of COVID, we had to reschedule it. But it turned out just by chance that the weekend I rescheduled it was the Queen's Jubilee. So that's been really fun. We got to go to the parade and see Ed Sheeran and do all this other fun stuff that we wouldn't have got to do last year. So it all worked out, right?
Yeah, glad we didn't go last year.
Yeah. Awesome. So today we went and walked around Ambleside, which is just about the cutest place ever. And
and Charlotte Mason's grave is here.
Yeah, we got to see that, and the Armit, and we're staying in this cute little cottage, which we could see it because it's really adorable and it has a cute little garden, and I want to live here. So yeah,
it's super cute.
We're gonna figure
out. The ceilings are really short.
That is true. Yes, and the stairs are really. Yeah. We couldn't fit our suitcases up the stairs. We put down here in the living room.
It's worth it because it's cute.
It is. But we wanted to record this podcast for you because one of the questions I get asked about all the time is if I have any Charlotte Mason graduates who could talk about what it was like to be homeschooled with the style. Or often at conventions, I get asked, once I got asked, well, I often get asked like, does this actually work?
Yeah.
And I'm like, what do you mean by that? And then I'll start talking to the people and I'm like, so, and how old is your child? And they're like, 4. I was like, okay, you all take a deep breath. It's going to be okay.
It'll be okay.
But
like a lot of the times you get a question of how your curriculum transfers to college as well. Right. Like, because college is, it's like the public school system. If you go to a public college.
Right. Unless you go to Oxford, which we're hoping for, we're going to go there tomorrow and just be like, please stay. We'd love to have you.
You should accept me into your college. That's what I think.
Yes. So, but yes, well, it's funny. You are correct. Like the public colleges in America are very much like public high schools, and the fact that it is rote learning, a lot of memorization, a lot of textbooks, a lot of what can we cram into you and what can you regurgitate out that we can prove that you actually learned something when you didn't actually really learn it. So we give you a degree that costs a lot of money and hope that you're going to make it in life.
Exactly.
That's kind of how that whole process works. Yeah.
Yeah. So I sat for Mom one time at one of her conventions, and I got that question quite a few times.
About what?
About like, or just how it just kind of like transfers like your curriculum into.
Oh, I didn't know you kind of said. Was that when you were at my booth?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah.
No. So I guess this is a popular question. And well, the last convention I was at, I had someone ask if they thought that maybe their child should use textbooks in high school to prepare them to have textbooks in college. And I was like, I'm thinking if they read real books in high school, the textbook in college is going to seem really easy. You don't have to give them easy watered down stuff in high school to prepare them for easy watered down stuff in college. I don't know. What do you think?
I agree.
It's so odd to me.
I agree with that a lot.
Because you're going to have easier stuff later on. We're going to give you easy stuff now. And that'll help you be a better thinker and a better person. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But, and then I get the question a lot about, one guy once wanted to know if I had any proof, like statistics. He wanted numbers of how many people who had been homeschooled using Charlotte Mason's methods had gone to college and what kind of income they earned. I'm like, I don't have those kind of statistics, and I don't think anybody does. But it's been around for over 100 years, and it was used all throughout the British Empire. So there's been plenty of people, and it's used in schools throughout England too. So even the Queen wrote the little foreword to Charlotte Mason's volumes. So there's been lots of people, but as in terms of like statistics and numbers, I have no idea, right? And to me, it was an interesting question, right? And the person, obviously, these questions that we get are from people who really care about their children, right? And they want them to be successful. And that's why they're asking these questions, because it seems so different from a lot of the education that, I had growing up, and some of what you're experiencing in college, that, people are concerned. And I understand that. I totally get that. I'm not, belittling their questions at all. But I think the whole process requires a step of faith, because it is so different. And because the whole way that you're kind of structuring things is so different as well. But, and also steps of faith, and you don't always see the fruit right away. It's not like I can grade a test and go, oh, you got 9 out of 10 right. So you learned everything you need to learn this week. Way to go. Right? Like, it's like these little seeds and these little ideas that might come out years later, and something else that you're doing reminds you of this or that. So, yes. So anyway, Rachel, tell us about what you're, I'll let you talk, because I've been talking a lot.
Just generic. Wait, was there not even a question?
Well, usually when I start podcasts, I say, so just give us a little bit about your homeschooling journey so far, and tell us about yourself. Well, I already know the answer, but they don't. So.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess I started homeschooling 2nd grade. So I've pretty much been homeschooled my entire career up till college. What else is there?
What are you doing now with yourself?
I'm studying at the University of South Carolina. I'm studying neuroscience, and I'm on the pre-medical track, which means I'm hoping to go to medical school.
Right. So what made you choose to study that?
I've been asked that. I cannot tell you how many times I've been asked that question. A lot of it came from where I, like growing up, especially in high school, I volunteered a lot. And a lot of that ended up being in the inner city, or with students. Like in high school, I volunteered with middle schoolers. I also volunteered at some after school programs near the inner city, and at a lot of homeless shelters. And I was able to see a lot of the different just struggle people go through in general, but also a lot of different neurotypical disorders, especially in the inner city, which is sad. And I wanted to learn more about it so that I would be able to help them. And I found myself very interested in the topic. And so I hope to continue to learn more in order to help people like the people that I've met. And
cool.
Yeah,
that's a good reason. I like that reason.
Thanks. It's not a very direct reason.
No, I definitely think it is. Yeah,
but I was inspired. So.
Yes, right. And I feel like we've had a lot of conversations about how our minds work, and why people do what they do, and we like to analyze things.
Yeah. People watching is one of my many hobbies. Is that a homeschool thing to say?
I think it's just, some people like it. I don't think it matters if they're homeschooled or not. But,
I make a lot of homeschool jokes.
Well, yeah.
If you hear some of them, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I think that happens when you go to college, right?
Yeah.
So what do you feel like is the biggest difference then in terms of how you're learning now from how you learned when you were homeschooled?
It's a good question. I guess, like I said before, it's very, and as you explained, it's very quick learning, kind of just shoving all this information in your brain to regurgitate it out for a single test. A lot of the tests I've had so far, I'm only a freshman, so I haven't gotten too far. The tests I've gotten so far aren't cumulative. So it really is, you learn a certain topic for maybe 2 weeks before you have a test and just spit it all out. So I feel like that's very different than, reading small bits of a book over time and writing narrations about them. And I feel like you are able to be more detail oriented in your learning, and just the time spent learning is helpful. It's helpful not to only have 2 weeks, and so you're spending kind of like 2 hours a day on a certain subject, and I feel like that's not a great
Wait.
way to learn.
Oh, I just want to make sure we're recording this. We're recording this.
Okay,
Woof.
good.
So we had to say all that over again. That would be really.
That would be tough.
So do you feel though? So it's a different approach, right? To learn
Yeah,
a
for
little
sure.
bit, have to take a test on it, and not have to accumulate it and take your time
And that, you know, that
really think
changes
through
with
things.
with
Yeah,
the class, you know,
right.
I'll eventually have some that are like that. But
Right. But do you feel like that because you weren't used to that style of learning, that it's harder?
I think having the tools of learning that came with slow, gradual learning, the tools I learned of how to learn
Right.
were helpful, because the way they teach you to learn in college isn't helpful.
Right.
That memorization, shoving in your brain, it doesn't really work very well.
Right.
I wouldn't be able to graduate and retain that information.
That makes sense.
And so having the experiences of just everything that comes with Charlotte Mason learning, there's so much to it.
Right.
They're just tools that you'll end up using,
right,
to learn on your own.
That's right, because all education is self-education.
Well, check.
Thank you for pointing that out. No. Yeah, and it's teaching you. If you haven't noticed, Rachel and I have the same laugh.
Yeah,
we get that from everybody. So
and we talk the same.
Yes, I apologize that it's double Julie.
And we look alike. So.
There's a lot of laughing happening. So yes, I apologize for that. But that's good. We're happy people. You had said something once about I can't remember what class you were telling me about, where you had to take some kind of I think it was a psych class, and you had to take some kind of test to determine your recall ability versus your abstract reasoning. And you're like, you call me, and you're like, Mom, Charlotte Mason works. And I was
I did.
What?
I don't remember the details of that experiment. For this, I took cognitive psychology, and we had these tests that we took online to kind of test different principles that we learned. I think one of them was abstract, and which would be retaining words over retaining letters and numbers. And I don't remember which it said was easiest. I think it may have been numbers. No. Anyways, I don't remember. I'll have to go look at that exact. It was one specific experiment that we did the entire year. But the abstract, learning the words, I had a better imagination, was able to remember the words
and the idea, the ideas, the complex.
And the hypothesis was that, either the numbers or the letters, I don't remember which, you would have retained them better. Because we're used to that in the school system, memorization of sequences. But I remember the words better, and I remember he pointed that out in class. He was like, "This one is not what was supposed to happen."
Here's the anomaly.
Yeah. Which neither is bad or good. It's just memorizing a sequence of words over letters. But I thought that was cool because it was almost like a story, and I was able to piece them together. It was girl would chop, just sequence of words, and I was able to be
because they have meaning to you.
They do,
rather than just arbitrary things that numbers and letters wouldn't have any meaning. So you really need to connect it to
I'd have to look
about
back
the
at
ideas and stuff. Yeah, I just remember you calling me that one day.
From that experiment.
Well, you explained the experiment to me, but I didn't even understand what she was saying that day. I was like, oh, that's nice. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. One of the other questions I get asked a lot about is if writing narrations translates to being able to write essays. So I know you had one class where you had to write like a paper. Was it a paper a week?
Mhm. Yeah, it
What
was
class
like
was that?
there were
Is it your
multiple.
history one? No, you didn't.
Well,
My other daughter.
there's money. I did in history, but that was a while ago. I wrote a paper every week for psychology.
But it was like a kind of like you had to read and then you had to summarize.
Oh yeah, that was English. English one too.
Oh, that was okay. Do you feel like you were able to do that easily? Do you feel like, oh, I wish I would have learned how to write papers, formal papers more?
I don't know if it's like genetics because you're good at writing too. But it was probably the practice. I mean, it was so easy to do that. Like it took me maybe 30 minutes to write a paper on
Right.
something I'd read. And she was like, "Oh, these are so good." And I was like, "Oh, I mean, thanks." I guess like just writing my daily narrations.
Well, that's what, when you told me about the assignments, I was like, well, that's just what you've been doing this whole time. It's like
Yeah.
reading and writing about it, reading and
Yeah.
writing about it.
That
Like,
class was that class was super easy
different.
for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I feel like just reading in general helps with writing.
right.
And you do a lot of writing stuff in your curriculum.
True. Yeah. Do you have like a favorite book or a favorite thing that you learned about? No pressure.
Yeah, I know. I have like 18 years, so it's kind of a lot of things.
Okay, maybe like high school. We won't do all.
Okay.
Remember that picture book about?
I mean, Smelly Socks. We were talking
Smelly
about Smelly
Socks,
Socks,
yeah.
which is I don't think that's even in your curriculum.
It's not in my curriculum.
I recommend.
Is it called Smelly Sock or Stinky Socks?
I thought it was smelly.
Okay, it's a picture book. We'll put it in the show notes. I'll find it for you guys.
They're gonna be like, book. Oh my word. I think we were talking about it earlier.
Oh,
the title, The Nature Girl.
The Girl of Limberlost.
Yeah, I love that book.
So what did you like about that?
I think that was for like a nature study, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was for nature study.
Yeah. Oh, I just remember it being like very. I mean, I guess it's something like I enjoyed watching the girl kind of go through this path. I felt like I was able to like learn a lot from her experiences, and I couldn't put into words exactly like what morals I learned from it, but I know it like influenced me towards towards like, well, I couldn't even put it into words morally how she
it just changed.
it did, yeah. And I remember feeling changed and inspired from it.
Yeah, that's such a beautiful book. Now, some people would say that like nature study is a waste of time, and reading a book about someone who's a naturalist and is a waste of time. You should be learning hard subjects like science and math, and not that you didn't learn those, but like you should spend more time on those. Those are like maybe we would see as frivolous in today's world. In Charlotte Mason's time, those were actually subjects that were taught in school all the way through and were very valued for their contribution to the person. But no one that I know that ever went to public school ever had natural history or nature study ever. We're like, if we went outside and saw some trees when I was in school. And I don't know if that's just in the United States or if that's everywhere, but that goes back to Charlotte Mason's concept of this whole feast, right? You have a wide variety of subjects, but some people would say things like a nature study and picture study, composer study, those are like frivolous, and you should be spending more time doing hard studying. So what would you have to say to someone? I mean, do you feel like you're saying this was your favorite book, it really shaped you as a person, but is that just frivolous? I guess that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, that's a good question. We talked about, I don't even know how we brought it up. We were talking about it in the car. How I also went to a co-op. I didn't mention that. Where I took like normal classes, I guess. They weren't Charlotte Mason inspired whatsoever.
Right, yeah, like some your high school math
Yeah.
and science. Sometimes, yeah.
And just like comparing the two, I I said like the books, I remember so much more from them. I
Mhm.
just because they were associated with the story and I was able to connect them with myself. And just the whole psychology behind
Yeah,
Charlotte
right.
Mason learning. I remember those books so much more than I do my textbook facts. um, so what was the question?
Well, like some people say like
Oh, is
subjects
it
like major
frivolous?
study and art study, they're like, you know,
Oh, yeah.
if we could fit them in, great, but like it's more important that we do all these other subjects. But like,
Okay,
well, what
yeah, that's a
value
good
do you
question.
see in those kind of
Oh, okay, yeah,
things?
yeah. Well, like nature study in particular, or just the
Sure. And
stuff?
the book you mentioned was that. That's what
Oh,
made me think
yeah.
of, is it worth spending time on that? Or
I think it is.
yeah.
I mean, if all of your subjects are Charlotte Mason inspired, then hopefully they will all be retained, as well as I did that book over my textbooks at my co-op. But I think they're important. Obviously, that's my own personal opinion from someone that did it, but I learned a lot from them, and I remember we go on like nature walks, and I was able to like point them out, and it's not frivolous knowledge. You know, I don't think any knowledge is frivolous, honestly.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed learning about it, and I think it was a good like. It's good to not have all your subjects be super similar.
Right, because it makes you very
Yeah.
narrow-minded, and I think, and John Mason talks about, you're educating the whole person. So I
Yeah.
feel like in order to grow up to be a person who has a wide variety of interests, you have to be exposed to all these different things growing up. Otherwise, your own little world, and you're very insular in your thinking.
Yeah. Yeah. And
yeah.
it did grow me as a person, as I said, I think. So
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, thank you for sharing. So proud of you.
oh, thanks.
You did very well this year. Do you have any closing thoughts or encouragement that you'd like to share, maybe to the moms who maybe are in the high school years
Yes.
and worrying about there were a couple moments where I was a little panicky.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have all my things in boxes in case someone from the college I wanted to go to came to our house and was like, "Where are all the proof that you
They actually did something?"
Yes. College, coming from Charlotte Mason background, it prepared me well, and I wouldn't worry about it. I would trust the process because the tools that I learned were so much more helpful to me, I think, than learning to study the same way that they tell you to in college.
Mhm. Yeah, I get that question a lot too. Like, well, if my child doesn't learn to take all these tests, they're not going to be able to pass the SAT. It's like, well, SATs and ACT are like their own little special language. Like you could take, what did you did you take the same class as Abigail did? Did you take a class or was that Abigail?
I don't think I took.
So you took like the Khan Academy. Oh, you did take a class. You did take a class.
Yeah. It was like
Prep
a
class.
semester.
Yeah. That you could take classes, you could do Khan Academy, you can learn the language of these tests in a couple months.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean you have to spend 12 years learning how to take these tests. Because really you might get a great score and you might get a scholarship, but like what kind of person are you? And you could spend just a few months learning the language for these tests and still get a great score, still go to school. Right. But also learn all these other wonderful things. Like Charlotte Mason says, how large is the room upon which he has set his feet?
Yes.
To have a large room, be magnanimous, I love that word, and have a wide variety of interests rather than we studied for this one thing this whole time. And then we're putting all of our eggs in this SAT basket and not learning all these other beautiful subjects as well. So
you don't need to study test taking skills for 12 years. If anything, learn the information on the test.
Yeah,
Because you'd retain that better.
Yeah, it's hard because it's like, the SAT is not going to ask like, what's the name of the tree that grew, or like ask you to, and a lot of it isn't those kind of deeper analytical. I remember, was it the ACT? One of them.
I mean, they've changed them over the years.
Yeah, and they keep changing them. I think it was Abigail, the lady that did the SAT prep class, was like, this is a test made by mean people to fool children. And so I'm going to teach you the tricks so that you can pass this.
Yes. I learned like test taking skills in like a semester.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
they're just skills for a test. Don't practice them for 12 years, please. That sounds terrible.
Well, thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
So
that was so helpful.
Yeah.
You're welcome, everyone.
All right. Well, live from Ambleside. We're going to go back to sightseeing, and then tomorrow we're going to Oxford, which is really fun. Yeah.
And my vegan fudge.
Oh yeah, we have to go buy some more fudge. Well, thanks for watching. I hope that was helpful and somewhat encouraging for you all who are listening. If you want more information on homeschooling in high school, I have 2 podcasts on that topic that I will link in the show notes as well. I also have an interview talking about doing high school writing with Shelley Guthrie that I will link as well, that might be helpful. So anyway, thank you all for listening and for your support.